afternoon, Hospitality MD listeners. I'm your host, Kyle Allison. Today, I'd like to welcome to our show Consuelo Neciosup. She's a friend of mine and a former colleague, and while currently furloughed, she is the housekeeping manager at the beautiful and historic Drake Hotel in Chicago, where she and I had the privilege of working side by side. So, Consuelo, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me and giving this opportunity. I'm very much appreciated.
Absolutely. So Consuelo, I just want to real quick, tell a story about kind of like the moment that I knew that you were just a very special hospitality worker from what you did for me at the Drake. And it's something that very few people are willing to do or step up and do. So for everybody listening, Consuelo and I, like I said, we worked at the Drake Hotel in Chicago together. She was the housekeeping manager. I was the front office manager. And there was one day, it was busy as usual at the hotel, I'm sure. And, yeah. And at some point or another, I must have spilled coffee all over my gray suit pants. So there's a huge stain. It was all wet. It was stained. I could hardly work. I would look like an idiot in front of the guests. So Consuelo was like overly nice. I've never experienced more hospitality from a coworker before. She actually helped me. I went into the housekeeping storage room, took off my pants, and they gave me a robe to wear. And Consuelo cleaned my pants and dried them for me. While I was just waiting in the housekeeping office wearing pantsless with a bathrobe on. And she just talked to me, made me feel, I didn't feel embarrassed or like anything like that, because she was just nice, talking to me, making me feel, like I wasn't bothering her at all. And it was just a really, really great moment between two coworkers from different departments with a lot going on in the hotel. So that was the moment that I knew Consuelo was special, and I knew that she was over and beyond hospitable, not only to the guests but also to her fellow coworkers as well. So Consuelo, you have a pretty interesting background from what I can see, right? You've done a lot of different stuff in hotels as well as outside of hotels. So why don't you give us your story here? Where did you start, and how did you end up at a 550 room, 100-year-old hotel running housekeeping?
Well, I was born and raised in Peru. I'm originally from Peru. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration and a specialization in international trade. I was meant to work in the ports, just doing basic cubicle office job, zero contact with guests, only just with my boss. Life brought me to the States, and that's how I started my journey in the hospitality industry. I didn't know too much about hotels. Peru is not that common for you to work, and the hotel is not that popular. However, in Chicago, it was the best thing to do. Thanks to the opportunity of one of the historic hotels in America, the Palm House, a beautiful Palm House, I was given the opportunity to start my journey there back in 2011. I worked for Palm House for over 7.5 years under Hilton management. I started as a room attendant. I spent 4 years working in the housekeeping department. With my director at that time, Karen Mitchell, she developed a program. She wanted to promote room attendants to be supervisors and potentially managers. So she created a little program to hire within. At 30 to 60 days training program, she will handpick all the housekeeping that has potential skills and urging to learn. So I was one of her picks. Out of the 30, I was the last one who passed. And I had the privilege to get trained as a supervisor and manager. I didn't hold the title. However, I covered for my supervisors when they were off, they were on vacation, so I was doing both at the same time. I got trained with Macaria Delgado, which was my direct manager at that time. Very nice lady. I learned a lot from her. And one day I remember I was sitting in the cafeteria having lunch. And our general manager, Ding Lane, sat down next to me and was talking, conversating. And he asked me, so how do you like the hotel industry? I told him I'm very much in love with it. It's just, a different industry than what I've been used to before. And he's like, are you planning to, continue your career? What are your plans? So I told him, yeah, I'm seeing, a future in the hotel industry. I wanted to become a director. And he gave me a piece of advice that I will never forget. He just said to me, well, if that's your goal, I highly recommend you to master the spinal cord of the hotel industry. And I didn't understand at the time what he was referring into a spinal cord. So I asked him, would you, be a little bit more clear? And he told me that spinal cord of the hotel is front office and housekeeping. Once you master those departments, you're ready to move forward. If you want to pursue a directory career, you need to go to the front desk. And that's what I done. Before my 5-year mark, I make it a goal that I needed to go to the front desk. So I applied, I got hired as a guest service agent, and I learned a lot. I was very much involved with one-to-one contact with the guests. I was able to create memories for them. So it gave me a different perspective, the other side of the coin. Usually it was more on the back of the house, but this one was in front, so I got a better understanding. From there, I decided to take a little trip and explore United States. I haven't been outside of Chicago. Just as soon as I came back from Peru, that's the only thing I know. So I went to California. I left in California for about maybe 10 to 11 months. And I ended up working for an accounting firm. So I decided, well, new city, new state, and maybe new industry. I learned a lot too in there. I learned about QuickBooks and studio web work, a lot of, accounting and stuff. I had my own small cubicle. But during those 6 months, don't get me wrong, I was, very grateful with the owner, give me a chance on her firm. But deep in my heart, I knew that was not for me. I realized that I was meant to be on a hotel industry, on a hotel setting, with tons of people, with every day busy going, and just to be in touch with the people. I'm a people person. I like to help people, and me being a cubicle, it wasn't meant to be for me. So I also was homesick, and I decided to go back to Chicago, and I got the opportunity to work for a 5-star hotel with the Trump Tower. I was hired as a housekeeping supervisor. That was a very challenging thing for me too, coming from a union setting and a big bad hotel to a smaller hotel with a non-union setting. With that, also the responsibility and the skills that you need to have in order to provide a luxury customer service. So it was a different setting for me. I got trained by Forbes, and I discovered a personalized service, something that it goes way above and beyond, not only anticipating guest needs, but also creating a memory and creating a relationship with your guests to the point that you know what they like, what kind of food they eat, what type of bottled water they like, what is their favorite color. So it goes way above and beyond to know them in detail. In order for you, the next time they come around, you will provide it extraordinary experience. I worked with them for a year. I learned a lot, and I ended up back with Hilton and with Drake, where I'm currently right now. So that's overall of nine and a half years of a nice journey.
You have such a fascinating background. I think one thing that I want you to get into a little bit here is because a lot of people, especially from our audience, a 1,641 room hotel like the Palmer House is far bigger than a lot of hoteliers can even comprehend because yep. I think the average hotel room or the average size of a hotel in the United States is around 150 rooms. So 1,641 rooms for a lot of people listening is outrageously big. So can you, for everybody listening who doesn't know, could you give us a rundown of how housekeeping operations work in such a large property. Because I think a lot of people, they think, oh, well, you know, how many boards are you going to have for your room attendants? Give us a little bit about that so they can understand a little bit about housekeeping operations at such a large place.
So in our particular case, we had, I would say, about 300 ladies in total, you including a first, second, and third, and overnight shift. Most of them were our room attendants who has been working there for more than 10 plus years, so they pretty much know their setup. We divide the building in different sections, and usually if you're a supervisor, you will get, in the best case scenario, 2 floors. It's not the same all the time. And then you have to be very, how can I word it? You have to be very smart on the way you manage your time, not only in order to flip the rooms as quick as possible with keeping in mind that you still have to follow, you know, hotel and brand standards, but it also on a fast pace, because in some point when you are in the front desk, you know, you're checking people in, there is a line of 300 people that it needs to go immediately to the rooms. That puts a lot of pressure on the front agents. And then with that being said, they also call us and let us know, hey, what happened with those rooms? So we try to be, you know, as much as productive as possible in terms of when we pre-ship in the morning. Usually we try to do it like 30 minutes before the start of the shift, and we'll let them know, you know, what floors are going to be the groups in. If you have a group of 300 people, which floors are going to be set up. So we try to, you know, 2-3 supervisors going there to help them out for the first 3.5 hours of the day. We send a more room attendants to cover in order to flip easily and reduce the waiting time at the front desk, knowing that the hotel is big, the lobby is nice, is big enough, but having a 300 people line is not an easy task. People get tired, people get bored. Most of them are people who come in from seminars. They have to just drop their baggage and go back to the buses and go to McCormick Place. So you really need to be able to flip those rooms as soon as possible. And those scenarios we will know prior to the day, we'll schedule room attendants to come early, maybe an hour and a half early, in order to flip out the rooms and move out through the day. But for the most part, we work as a team. When we knew that we have a heavy traffic, we prepared the day before. We try to not do late departures. We try not to extend stays. And like I said, if we can clean rooms overnight and get it ready for the first batch of the morning checking, that easy the job for the rest of the day, you know, if for both departments, including sales, because sometimes you have sales up in housekeeping, you know, pressure on the managers. So I need my rooms. So we just try to communicate and work as a team. That's how we did it over there.
So, because I think a lot of people are going to be fascinated to know. So at a hotel the size of the Palmer House, you have 3 shifts of housekeeping room attendants. So, because a lot of people are used to, the room attendants start at 8 and they leave at 4:30 every day. And that's the end of housekeeping for the day. Yeah. So you have room attendants cleaning rooms 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Usually happens on the busy season. Yeah.
Yeah. So right. So when it's busy, you could, in theory, have 3 shifts, 24-hour coverage of people cleaning rooms. So it's not, you know, there's never a scenario when it's busy where by 4 o'clock every single, you know, 1,600 rooms are cleaned. It's certainly a process that takes much longer.
Yeah, it never. We wish that would be the perfect scenario, but it unfortunately is not. So you have to take in consideration that most of the time there are guests that are probably part of our reward program in case of Hilton, and you need to, you know, you still need to provide your guarantee your rewards program members that you're going to have late checkout, that you might be able to extend the stay or maybe upgrade. So all those facts also we take in consideration in order for us to have a plan in action when we have a heavy check-in for, you know, whether it can be a wedding, whether it can be a group, a massive group. group that it comes from, other places around the world. So we try to, as much as possible, to have a 24-hour service in terms of get the rooms ready for the following day.
Yeah. So with because I know you mentioned that the building is divided into sections. So could you elaborate on that a little bit more for us? I know that if you're a director or a manager of housekeeping at the Palmer House, to look after 200 or 300 ladies at any given moment would probably be impossible. So I think, when you mentioned that the building is kind of broken down into chunks, can you explain how that operation works with the smaller chunks?
So how the apartment house is sitting on a corner between three major streets. You have the State Street, Monroe, and Wabash. With that being said, it's like three different towers that divide the building. So in the area where it faces straight to street, we will have maybe 2-3 sections. Each section can hold, at that time with union contract, it was 16 to 18 rooms. Each person will have that amount of rooms per board. Obviously, that changes if you have a heavy checkout that usually happen on Sunday, that it will reduce the amount of rooms that a lady can clean. It will drop down to 13. But usually it is 3 per area. So you will have 3 on that area, another 3 on the front, 3 or 4 on the front, because this is the larger part of the hotel, which is face Monroe, and another 3 sides. So you're pretty much talking about in total of 9 sections per floor. On the upper level that we call it the towers, which is between the 21st to the 23rd floor, you have less amount of rooms per section because of the fact that there are larger rooms. So those ladies, instead of having 18 rooms, will have an amount maybe at 12 to 14 rooms, depending on the size and the credit of it. But that will be pretty much the basic. Each supervisor will be checking between 150 to 200 rooms per day. It's understandable that you're not going to walk every single room, because when it's a larger hotel room, attendants are usually allowed to be auto inspector person, so they are allowed to release the rooms. The supervisors just go in case of is any issues, or it's a VIP room that you need to actually go and do extra detail work, or it's a room for a wedding, bridal party. So certain things that we consider VIP that it needs in a manager or in supervisor inspection, we will go. But for the most part, I mean, try to check 150 or 200 rooms a day it's not that possible. So you have to trust your team that they are doing, they're following procedures, that they are doing their job, as we expected them to do.
And that's really, really tough to do in a hotel that size, with so many tenured employees in a union environment. Mm-hmm. Mad respect for that, not only cleaning the rooms, but also helping to manage that department. So, you went to front desk right after that. And I know, because I started at front desk and then I went to housekeeping afterward to get some experience there. And I remember, my eyes being opened quite a bit to, so this is what happens when I call housekeeping from the front desk and tell them I need this room, or, when I'm getting pissed at the front desk that the rooms aren't ready, this is actually what's happening behind the scenes. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about how working the front desk opened up your eyes to the rest of the spinal cord, as Dean called it.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, for me, when I was a room attendant, I always complain about front office. I would say, oh, they don't know what I'm going through, and it's hard to make so many rooms. And, sometimes you go knock on the same door like 4 times, and I guess it's not ready, And I was always say, oh my God, they don't understand. But once I went to the front desk, and I was actually the one, the first person that they come to see, and then you welcome them, and you're in the middle of checking them, and they're expecting the room to be ready, and the room is not ready. Yeah, it was very challenging for me in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie, there were times that I'll go in the restaurant and probably I cry because
Oh,
I'm the type of person that I like to accommodate as much as possible. I don't like to disappoint anybody. So for me, telling a guest, the room is not ready for X, Y, X, Z factor, it was difficult. Uh, I will get, sometimes people will get mad at me, people don't want to understand, but at the same time, I couldn't disclose certain things, so you try to manipulate your wording in order to let them know that, apologize, the moment is not ready, but we will have it ready. It was challenging, but at that time, my mentor, Justin Jordan, who is now a director of one of the Hiltons too, he really gave me a piece of advice. He always told me, don't take it personal. I do understand that you come from heart. You don't want to disappoint people, but there will be times that even if you don't want to, it will be things out of your control that you won't be able to. So the only way that you have to do is just put yourself in your situation, but on a calmer way, just to try to understand them, empathize with them, and then explain the situation. And after that, you'll see it will go easy and easy. As the times passed by, my job got easier. I was able to learn more about how, if this room is not ready, maybe put them in this one and moving people around. It was challenging, but it was a good years that it kind of helped me to get a thicker skin, a better understanding of hotel operations. It sharpened my customer skills because before that, like I said, I barely have contact with the guests. With good and bad experience while I was working as a front desk agent, I learned a lot. It make me not only make me better as a professional, but also my inter skills as a professional got sharpened with those 2 years. It was hard, the overnights, the long hours, but I enjoy every minute of it. It was very good.
yeah, that's it takes a special person to be able to um, kind of manage the guest expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you said, there's certain things that you can't tell them. Like you can't tell them that the reason their room isn't ready is because of a union issue, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like
Yeah.
all these little nuances that you can't disclose to the guests.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes you smarter and it makes you better for it. So, then you went to California from there, and you found yourself missing and longing for the hotel industry. If you mentioned that you were in the bathroom crying at the hotel, that it was so tough, it was, difficult, long hours,
Mm-hmm.
overnight. For anybody, that would be like, okay, thank God I'm leaving. I don't want to ever set foot in a hotel again. It's
Yeah.
terrible. But you left and you wanted to go back.
Yeah.
Why? Why did you, for something that was so, at least from an outside perspective, may have seemed so difficult, why did you want to continue this career of yours?
Because it's my passion. I have a lot of passion for customer service, and that's what I'm driven by. The hospitality industry it, it gives you an opportunity to be part of a memory experience on somebody's life, to have a good impact on somebody else's life. Uh, it's just I can explain it sometimes in words, especially now that I'm away due to the current circumstances. But I tell you that every single thing, every single complaint or long hours, and I miss it. I miss it just because it's part of my life. It's part of who I am, and I really love what I do. It's not. I'm not there just doing 8 hours or 10 hours and getting a paycheck. I'm there because I like to serve people, because it's what I enjoy to do. It's my passion, and there will be no other job for me as long as the hotels. And that's what I realized. I knew that from the beginning. Even in Peru, I always been volunteering, helping people, trying to alleviate pain from others. But I didn't know that I could find this on industry and make a living out of that until I came to the States, and Palmer House opened the doors for me and made me see this beautiful industry. But for me, no. For me, every single hour that I've been there, I work a long double shift or sometimes, back to back is worth it. I won't change none of it.
Yeah, and I think the real deal hospitality people who love it at their core, like you, like me, like a lot of people who are listening,
Mm-hmm.
they will understand where you're coming from there,
Yeah,
because there's something that, as much as in the moment it can be like, oh no, somebody
yeah.
called off, I have to work a double now. Okay, well, I'm used to it. It's just a part of the game. We just have to keep going. So great. So you decided, I love hospitality. This is what I want to do. And then you had the awesome opportunity to work at, I think it's one of Chicago's, it's either 4 or 5. I think it's Chicago's 5 Forbes 5-star and AAA 5-diamond properties, and Trump International Hotel and Tower is one of them. So you had a
Yeah.
great opportunity there to help lead the housekeeping department there. And you went from huge, second largest hotel in the city, 1,600 rooms, union politics, and kind of just a huge machine that just, let's get the guests in, let's get them in the rooms, let's get these rooms clean, to a much more refined level of service and experience. So tell me a little bit about that transition for you, and if you have any if you have any stories about like your time transitioning that you think are interesting, definitely let me know as well.
Well, I was very excited, tell you that. I'm very excited. The building itself is extremely beautiful. I didn't know it was only 339 rooms, and 30% is hotel, 70% is residential. Very excited, very proud to be there. And well, in the beginning, it was okay. It was a lot of learning. It was almost a month and training and learning about 5-star standards, Forbes standards, our own policies. That the Trump organization have, how the hotel is divided. Obviously, it's not union. With that being said, the room attendants are not allowed to release rooms. The supervisors or the managers are the only ones who are allowed to release rooms in order to be filled, to be sent out for the front desk. It was a quite big of a change for me, because coming from a big box hotel that everything is going quickly, fast, you need to flip the room as soon as possible, put them inside, move on to the next one. You barely have the chance to personalize your service. It's only from this, or maybe sales, or maybe the waiter, who had the chance to talk to the guests. Back of the house is barely. With us, it was a totally different ball game. Every single employee counted for the experience. So in a 5-star setting, even your website counts. So they have something called the map of a guest, right? What they mean by that is, as how do the guests find out your hotel? If they hear it from a friend of them, if they hear it from website. So the first thing, if your website is beautiful, if it's easy to book a reservation, it's a user friendly. From there, reservations, your reservation people, how are they accommodating the guests, how the tone of the voice, the language, everything else. From there, when you park in front of the building, who opens the door. So every single element, from the moment they book the reservation through the moment they file your survey, and maybe possibly following up meetings, every single thing comes from them. On a big chain hotel like Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, corporate has their own way to do their Q&A, right? So we kind of know, as you and I know, that maybe they come twice a year. You might have maybe a window, a month or two, that you might know that they're going to come and do the Q&A. With Forbes on a setting like that is completely different. You earn your stars, and you get to keep the stars every time they come and shop your hotel. With that being said, you don't know when they're coming, you don't know who the person is. So the whole experience has to be completely spotless. And the moment that you talk with them, if they ask for extra pillows, how you deliver it, and your turn down service. They are very big on turn down services. The not only the 15-5 rule, but also the rules that you're not allowed to give the bag to the guests using, you have to use their names. In this case, most of these cases are, you know them, you know who these people are. They are always coming to your hotel. They are very, very VIP. So for me, it was a quite wake up call, on a educational side. I didn't know about those things. I didn't know about, that you have to have use the, in their case, the 3 times the name. You cannot overuse it. You're not allowed to check their hands unless they ask you to. You're not allowed to give them their bag. So, and not only while the guests or anticipating the needs, but also, like I told you before, you get to know them on a point that you know what kind of thing, I remember one time, one of my guests, that was on the Trump Tower, he usually come 2-3 times a year. And I remember I was touching it up the room, making sure everything is fine. We have a locker on the side of, or a little locker on the side of our closet, that it was his own belongings, his chairs, his pillows. So I went and unlocked, put the pillows back, put his chairs back, just to make it more homey-like. And then I see sales department coming in with groceries. So I asked them, what is this groceries for? I just cleaned the room. This is for Mr. X, Y, and Z. And they told me, no, he's coming tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, and he likes his bananas. He likes organic apple. He likes this overwise milk. So they bought groceries and bring it up to the room. They put them on the refrigerator, very nice and neat. They brought a special coffee mix for him. So I didn't realize how far and how depth they do customer service on the 5-star setting. So these people really take the time to get to know the guests very well, in order to get all the insights, what they like, what they don't like. And based on that, you create the entire experience. So every time he came, he knew that he's going to find his apples, his milk, his bananas, and his furniture placed back. So it just gives you a different way to create memories for them. For me, it was the whole year I spent with them. It was just learning, and try to, the next time I go to another hotel, bring that knowledge and put it into another brand, which I have with the Drake,
Right, which I can definitely attest to on that. You definitely added an increased level of service and awareness to the Drake for sure. But for a lot of people, right, like housekeeping, they think they're back of the house, just like you thought, right? Housekeeping is back of the house. They don't impact the guest experience. They just clean the room, guest goes in there, and that's the end of it. For those who are listening who work in their smaller hotels, or maybe they're not 5-star hotels, and they want to try and implement some positive housekeeping changes to make their operation more personalized, what would you recommend that they do from a housekeeping perspective? Is there anything easy that they can implement?
Yeah, I mean, something simple as, for example, if you're room attendant, you go inside the room, it's a stay over, right? And you just make the bed, and you see on the nightstand that the guest has maybe a lot of medication, right? So that the guest might need water to take the medication. Maybe your property is not that used to giving bottled water, to every single guest to walk to the room. But you, as initiative, you can go to the front desk if you know that they are, having bottles of water, or maybe go to in-room dining, get one bottle of water, place it nicely and neatly next to their medication, put a glass next to it with maybe a napkin on top. So when the guests come in, he will have a bottle of water to have his medication with. So little simple things like this. You don't have to spend too much money. You don't have to, go overboard with it. Just a small, tiny details that you can wow the guests. For instance, if it's trans or business person, sometimes they have change all over the desk, just coins and stuff like that. Arrange it nicely, fold a nice little washcloth, fold it nicely, and make a little access on it and put their coins in there so it won't spread over. If you see maybe a sunglasses laying in there, fold a little towel nicely neat and place the sunglasses on top and have it next, maybe on their desk or maybe on their nightstand, with a little notes and in order to prevent that your sunglasses will get damaged. Little things that you just, I guarantee you that you will elevate your service. Little things go a long way. And I learned that from the Trump Tower. That's what we do sometimes. We just don't ask them. We just, whatever it is inside the room that we can make it more homier and more special for them. Even if it's a hand note, just introduce yourself. Thank you for choosing us. This is Consuelo. I'm your housekeeper. If you need anything, please let me know. That's it. Little things like that. This is the housekeeping number. You can dial this number or stuff like that you can just wow the guests.
I think that you make a great sentiment, because a lot of people, when you talk about a 5-star hotel, or you talk about a luxury property, they think it's untouchable. Oh, I'm just a small Hampton Inn. There's no way that I could ever even be anything close to a 5-star hotel. But what you're saying is, if you have a little bit of extra time to think and a little bit of training and maybe some extra washcloths or towels laying around that you can use to help, to put the sunglasses in or put the coins in, then you can get yourself elevated to the service level of a 5-star hotel. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
Yeah. Because it's funny you mentioned the coin thing, because I was recently staying at a hotel and I found myself in a situation where I had a lot of coins all over the desk by the TV, because I would just come in with my change and I was just I need to empty out my pockets and I want to put it right here. If I had come back to my room and there was a little tray that was made out of a towel for my coins, I would have freaked out. I would have been this is the most hospitable thing anybody's ever done for me, and so thoughtful and caring to do that. So I think that's awesome, and it makes it seem like that 5-star service really isn't too far out of reach for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So now you work at the Drake, at least up until recently. You've kind of been furloughed with everything going on.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about the Drake. I feel like, having worked there, I can probably say that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would have to imagine that the Drake is a little bit of the in-between between the Palmer House and the Trump.
Yes, indeed it is.
So tell me a little bit about your experience there so far, and because now I understand that this is your first salaried management position within a hotel, and how do you feel about that, and how's it been?
Well, I was given this opportunity with Christian Michaels, one of my ex managers from Palmer House, which I'm very grateful for. I told you that it has me being having my own office, my business cards is just it's just tangible, a goal that I placed at least 5 years before that. I knew that I wanted to be in some point in management, and I knew that I wanted to be as a director. So right now I'm on hold, but I'm not losing those dreams. But yeah, it has made me very proud how far I came, and all the knowledge and all the hard work has been paid off so far. In terms of how was the Drake, well, coming from a 5-star hotel, it was a little bit of quite a different setting from non-union property. Go back again to a union property, and going back to this phrase, that's not my job. That's another union representative job. It has been a little bit challenging. Readjust myself again and kind of reset my way of doing things, because on the Trump Tower usually everybody's there to cooperate. That the level of understanding that each of us play a big big part in this big puzzle of which is the entire experience for a guest. It took me a little bit of a while to readapt and do not lose, my focus on a specialized customer service. But and for me it was, I would say, the culture in it, within a just housekeeping department, right? Well, it was a little bit challenging, but I guess little by little they didn't know who I was and where did I came from. And when I was introduced, they pretty much, every time they introduced me, there was a 5-star hotel, and that will get, people a little bit of, what kind of changes this person is going to get, and there are no union, and they're going to force me to do things. It's not in my job description, until they figured me out and they kind of knew that I wasn't there to make and do things that they were not within in their job description. They learned that I was there to empower them, to show them a different ways to do things. I'm very self-driven and staff development. For me, it's very important to see that as the same way they did it with me, the people believe in my abilities, my skills, and they saw my talent. I want to give back too. So I try to show them that I wasn't only the manager just to micromanage everything, because that's not my style. I was more the manager on open policy and sit down and have a roundtable conversation and see what areas we can improve and get their feedback. If I implement this, do you think it's gonna affect you on the way how long does it take you to make a bed, or how long does it take you to clean a room overall? All these minor changes, I always try to have a conversation and between me and my employees in order to get a better understanding, create changes. Because sometimes I believe that people don't take change very well. Sometimes they are afraid to take changes, especially on the setting that there are people who come in from different parts of the world. There are some of them, they don't speak very well English, so it's challenging to change their normal routine and say, oh, we're gonna do things in this way. I always try to get their opinion involved and have them involved in the change, so it won't be that challenging for them. And as for me, Kanak actually was one of the person who actually helped me a lot with this in my transition. He has been not only a good mentor, but a good colleague as well. He has been always pushing me and trying to, hey, don't get discouraged. They might not listen to you right now, but they're gonna get it in some point. So hand to hand with him, actually, I was able to get on a good track. And all my ladies like me. I like my ladies. I try to help them out as much as possible. Some of them actually, before I left, where I was training them to be as kind of supervisors, and they were, going to another hotel. So, just little by little.
Because I think a lot of times, just like just like we kind of see over and over again with new managers that come into a unionized property, the team can kind of wear them down sometimes when you hear that's not my job over and over again, or they feel like they don't trust you. But what you said was that you kind of let them show you what they were capable of, and because nobody else has really done that before, right? That it's so long of, no wonder they keep saying it's not my job and this and this, because they've never had somebody who says, hey, I think you do really important work, and I think we can even elevate that even more. Let me help you work together. A lot of times it's a team versus management kind of scenario, but it sounds like you've really tried to bridge the gap and make one big team rather than an us versus them situation, which is really, really important, especially in a union environment. But also you can relate to them because you were a room attendant. That's where you started. You were a room attendant at the Palmer House, which is a sister hotel. And I'm sure, did you work with any of the same ladies that?
No,
No.
no. It's totally different setup. But the good thing, I guess, about me, I would say, or my experience, like you just mentioned, I started as a room attender, so I know how hard it is. I know how challenging it is. I know sometimes, you don't have enough leaning because your leaning company didn't deliver. So all that stuff that it can go wrong, and guest check out late, and you couldn't finish the room, and your manager is pressured. So I every time I appreciate them, I let them know that I'm part of the team. They don't work for me. We work together. That's my philosophy on this thing. At the end of the day, everything is a change. We depend on them, they depend on us. So for me, it's always, I'm there for you whenever you need me. If I have to pitch in, I pitch in. When it's busy, there were times where they were running late. I will help. I'll strip this room, so you gotta go and just make the bed. So when it's time to roll up the sleeve and get hand to work with them, I'll be the first one. And I guess that's how I gain the respect. I'm not only worried about how fast they're gonna turn off the rooms from this, but also on the personal level. Are they okay? Is their family okay? Because sometimes, believe it or not, we are humans. We try to put our own problems and our emotions outside the building, but sometimes it's hard, especially when there are mothers and has kids at schools and a lot of things. So, I will get to know them. I will walk around the floors. Sometimes I just to say hi. Hi, how are you? How's your day going? Do you need anything? Do you need any supplies? Do you need more this and that? So, and they knew that I was there for them. My approach is completely different. I'm not a type of authoritarian leadership. For me, it's more, hand to hand, teamwork. Let them know that I know how it is. So we're gonna go through this together.
Yeah, and that's I think that's a huge component of what's missing in a lot of modern hotel management, especially in a union setting. It's missing a lot of the time. So it's good that there are people like you who are giving the team members that you work with hope that there's positive management out there who's going to support them even when it feels like nobody else is supporting them.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, because we are running out of time, I do want to see if you have any of your favorite hospitality memories from any of your hotels, any story or memory that sticks out in your head.
Any favorite memory? I think I would say one when I was working overnight in the Palm House as a front guest agent. Me and at that time, Jared Sawyer, who was my manager, we were working at the desk, computer next to each other. And it was around maybe 1 a.m. Sold out night. We actually were walking out guests. That's how bad it was. So this couple came in. It was newlywed around 1:10, 1:30 in the morning. So I proceed with the check-in process. It was a third-party reservation. It didn't have any notes. So as we prioritize when it's a sold out night first. If it's groups or wedding parties, they get their own guarantee. Then Hilton Honors members guarantee. If somebody booked directly through Hilton, will get guarantee room. But if it's a third party and that doesn't have any guarantees, unfortunately, we usually walk them out. We walk them out to our next, our sister property, right? This time the whole city was sold out, and the next property that we were gonna send them to was Bolingbrook. It was a 30 to 35 minutes drive, right? No traffic, but still, it was super far away. So he came in, he checked in. He's like, we just got married. It was a small wedding, receptions in a restaurant. Like I booked a reservation for a wedding night, and I have the paper, the name of him, and I knew I was gonna walk him out. So I look at my manager, he looked at me, and I start apologizing, the whole thing, right? The whole procedure. The bride started crying, but like awfully. I felt so bad for her. She was like, I can't believe, you did this on our wedding day. So it was terrible. We did have one room, but it was out of order due to bad maintenance. The ceiling in the bathroom, the whole paint has chipped off. Didn't have makeup mirror. Didn't have a lot of stuff. So it wasn't a good room to be selling out, right? So my manager was trying to call the bride down and talk to the husband, because he was very upset that how come we're going to walk him out that far. I pulled on the side my manager. I told Jerry, there is that room out of service. Yeah, I mean, I can fix it, um, on the point that it's going to look presentable. That I just have to call engineering to have them remove their tools and stuff like that. But if we can explain them that it's the only room in case they don't want to go over there. And he's like, well, okay. So, he told him, and I told him, while you talking to them, just send me a text or call me through the radio and let me know if they're okay. And do not send them to the room until I came down. So what I did, I have Jared dealing with that, making the kids and everything. The guest said, yeah, I'll take that room. I went inside. The day prior, we had a birthday party. Our director, Pamela Donahan, her birthday. So we have a bunch of flowers in there left over from the night before. So what I did, I grabbed those flowers, was some roses in there. I ran up to in-room dining. I told, I fill out the paperwork. I get a bucket of ice with champagne glasses. I went up to housekeeping. I grabbed some candles that we have for our VIPs, but the fake candles, the ones that you turn on. And I went down to the room. I called engineering. They helped me to remove their tools. I just kind of touched up the bathroom. I started removing the petals from the rose, throwing them, on the bed, on the floor, straight up the bed, tuck it in, and do it a little bit of turn down. Place the bucket on the desk, and put the, candles in the bathroom area. So I came down, I escorted him upstairs, I apologized for the inconvenience of the ceiling and stuff like that. She was a little calm. Next day, she came back, she looked for me. That day I worked, I think, 12 to 14 hours, so because I was on a long shift. She came back, she came back with a Starbucks coffee and a Starbucks sandwich. And she thanked me for, preventing her going there and making her stay a little bit memorable. At that moment, I knew that I was in the right industry. At that moment, she's like, she told me, I lost all the hope. My whole wedding, wedding night was ruined. But you make it a good. So she was very happy. She always came back. I got her for a Hilton Honors membership. So nice. I explained that when she was more foreign, I told her, I apologize, but sometimes when it's a third-party reservation, it's a little bit difficult for us. However, if you become a Hilton Honor members, we can guarantee you that, and I throw 5,000 points on it, and I got a loyal guest every time she came. For 6 months anniversary, for a year anniversary, for her birthday, for his birthday, they will come back to the Palma House. So little things like that, it changed my perspective. I knew that I make a good impact on her life. So that makes me very happy.
That's awesome. I got chills when you told that story, because it's so easy for us, especially, like, I'm just putting myself in your shoes. 1,600 room hotel. It's you and one other person at the front desk by yourselves when the entire city of Chicago is sold out. You already have all your walk paperwork ready to go.
Yep.
Everything's already pre-planned, everything's good, and you were actually able to do what a lot of people aren't, which is to shift priorities when you're really busy, because a lot of people just are tunnel vision. No, we already planned we were going to walk them. We just have to walk them. It doesn't matter. Let them cry. We're going to call security. We're going to get them into the cab, and they're going to leave. But you slowed down. You said, wait a second, this isn't right. This is not fair to them. This is a special day, and we're not going to be the ones to ruin their wedding night by something that they shouldn't even have to understand or comprehend or even deal with. And not only did you get them a room, but you were giving them 5-star service before you even knew what 5-star service was.
Yes.
Before you even knew. So it's just no wonder why hospitality has really been such a good fit for you.
Yeah.
But Consuelo, I thank you so much again for being with us here on Hospitality MD podcast. It's been a pleasure chatting with you about your experience and your story. I think your insights are going to provide a lot of value to our listeners. Also, for everybody listening, be sure to connect with Consuelo on LinkedIn. We're going to put her profile here in the show notes for everybody to connect with her. And feel free to reach out to her directly if you have any questions or want to talk more with her about her experience. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the show. Be sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts and share this with your network. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.